so today I'm going to do a very quick review. I know this is summer and everybody wants to get out there and tan and sunbath and all the things that I'll never really enjoy doing. So I'll make it very quick. I received something special, so I decided to take a break from this build to talk to you about this, the Maximus 9 Extreme Edition from Asus. This is probably the most extravagant piece of hardware I've ever received. You think I'm exaggerating? This motherboard comes with an audio cassette looking monoblock water cooling monoblock. It comes with this, an M.2 solid state drive water cooling accessories extension. This is so cool. Put it like this and then, anyways, point is, this thing is extreme. Asus partnered with Power to deliver what is, without the shadow of a doubt, the most enthusiastic piece of hardware currently available. Not only is this board placing the bar really high in terms of geekiliciousness, but it is also packed with built-in peripherals and accessories. And I mean packed. Alright, let's start somewhere. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so here's a motherboard. We're gonna put it aside for now. Right underneath we will find a bunch of Asus stickers. But let's remove everything. I am more interested in the accessories box. Look at this. This is a lot of stuff. So let's start with the water cooling monoblock. It's quite heavy really. Here is a M.2 solid state drive water block extension, and here we have the backplate for the monoblock installation, an Asus sticker to put on your case, an undercup as well as some warranty documentation, and here we have all our drivers and software stored on a USB stick. I think that's pretty neat. Here's some screws, our Wi-Fi adapter, some more screws, a 1x5 wafer cable, and again more screws. This is our motherboard's documentation, manual and registration card, some thermistor cables for temperature monitoring, some RGB extension, always useful, a couple of SATA cables, coupons and more stickers, and the quick start guide. The last compartment on our accessory box will show us the fan extension card, the SLI bridge, the CPU remover, the connector bridge for our front panel, and some more SATA cables. And that's that for that. Time to go back on our motherboard. First thing you might realize is that this motherboard is a little bit bigger than what we usually get, and that's because the Maximus 9 Extreme Edition is an E80X motherboard. This LGA 1151 CPU socket is both compatible with the 6th and 7th generation Intel CPUs, and that's pretty neat because you'll be able to use your older 6th generation processor on this brand new motherboard. Memory-wise, this board can sustain up to 64GB of DDR4 RAM in a dual-channel configuration, and I would choose the kind of RAM I'm using on this board very carefully because it can run it up to 4133 MHz. Yeah, that is a lot of hertz. Time to take a closer look to our memory, and let's start with our M.2 solid state drives. We have two of them on this board. The first one is right next to the CPU and the second one hidden behind this heat shield. Both connectors can accommodate different sizes of memory sticks, and only one of them, the one next to the CPU, can be water cooled. Because this board comes with a Z270 chipset, it is Optane ready. Normally that means that we could expect up to 32 gigabit per second of data transfer from our M.2 solid state drive individually. To be honest, usually M.2 solid state drive thermothrottle before achieving those kind of speed, or if they do, they don't keep them for very long. But I'm definitely curious to see how the water-cooled M.2 solid state drive will behave in comparison to the one who is not. On this board we have 4 3.0 Pci Express available to us. The first one, the one closest to the CPU, is the only one able to run up to 16 bus speeds. That does mean that if you have only one video card, this is where you would want to place it to get the best possible performances out of it. If you had two of them, say in an SLI or Crossfire configuration, then you will place them on the two first 16 lanes Pci Express. The only issue here is that those lanes will be sharing their bandwidth. Therefore, they will be running up to 8 bus speed individually. Now, since those two PCI Express lanes are most likely to carry the heavy weight of our video cards, Asus took the precautionary step to add some metallic reinforcement to it. And seeing how heavy video cards are these days, it is no luxury. The remaining single slot and 16-lane PCI Expresses are all capped up to 4 bus speed. Okay, time to move on to something I really like, the Aura Sync effect. Simply said, Aura will take all your different components, Rgb lighting, and synchronize them to give this very nice harmonious glow all over your build. And if you've been watching my videos, you know that I am a big fan of this. It is really cool to see it work. On this particular motherboard we have RGB strips hidden here, here, and there. Let's not forget that we also have 2 extra RGB connectors in the case we would want to add some more RGB strips and overdo it a little. And as usual, the Maximus lineup of motherboard features the QLED screen as well as a soldered start and reset button. I could go on and on about it, but very simply said, the QLED screen will let you easily troubleshoot your system and monitor at any time your CPU temperature. It really makes your life easier when you build a system. You can simply start and reset your computer directly without having to install any kind of external wire. Alright, peripherals. The first thing I'd like to notice is the fact that the I/O shield is integrated to the motherboard, and I think this is absolutely brilliant and will save us at least 5 good minutes fighting with the case and the I/O shield to try to put them together. Next, Asus has integrated Thunderbolt 3.0 directly onto the motherboard's peripherals, and that translates in the Type A and Type C USB outlets right here. And second, the audio interface is a little different. You may have noticed that the audio output plugs don't have their usual colorings. And that's because Asus has decided to, well, rock it up a little bit and placed an RGB LED in every audio outlet, meaning that when you put on your system, they will all lit up with their organic usual colors. And yes, it looks pretty cool. And for the rest of the peripherals, nothing out of the norm. We have our clear CMOS and BIOS button here, 6 3-gen USB plugs, our 1 gigabit LAN Ethernet inlet, our Wi-Fi adapter, and finally for our integrated graphics we have a 1.4 HDMI port as well as a 1.2 display port. One more thing I'd like to talk about. On the motherboard, and for the very first time, we can see a USB 3.1 Type-C front panel connector. This front connector plug can deliver speeds up to 10 gigabit per second, and this is something that I hope we will see more and more on future boards. The last thing I'd like to take a look at is our SATA plugs. We have 8 of them and they can all transfer speeds individually up to 6 gigabit per second. So normally I would stop it right here. That's it. We've seen the motherboard. Awesome. An Extreme edition. Remember? Extreme. Extreme is just starting now. Everything before was just like, oh, that's a nice motherboard. Now we're talking. We have 8 fan headers right here. And as if this would not be enough, Asus thought that, well, you know, we might as well add another 4 on an extension. Say, that's a lot of high pressure fans. And I really don't know what they intended to do with all that, you know, turbine power, other than create a very nice looking torpedo maybe, but they certainly did not have climate change in mind. Not extreme enough for you, huh? Well, watch this, the monoblock. Oh my god. This is not just for the CPU. This monoblock will cover all this area on your motherboard and be cooling all those different components. Not only is this the best looking monoblock I've ever seen, I mean, god gracious, it looks like audio cassette tape. I mean, do you know what that means for a nerd? Especially a nerd of my age. But there is a bunch of different sensors on it. I mean, you're talking about in and outlet leakage sensors, those little golden rings you see around. You have a flow sensor telling you how fast the water is transiting through the monoblock. You have, of course, in and out temperature sensors, which can monitor live what kind of cooling dissipation we're doing. This thing is also Aura compliant. There is a bunch of RGB lighting which can sync with the rest of your build. That's gonna look amazing. All right, I'm coming down. So that's our monoblock. But of course, this is not enough. we have our little solid state drive water block extension, which just added like this. Looks really awesome. And that's a first for me. I've never seen a M.2 solid state drive stick being water cooled. So yeah, I'm definitely looking into benchmarking this, as I said earlier in the video. In conclusion, I don't know what to say. For one, you have to know where this goes. This is for custom water build. So that's 90% of your day-to-day market who's out. So this product is basically, I mean, sniper targeting us, the enthusiasts. And I absolutely felt that whoever put this package and designed this board had us in mind, and had specifically me in mind. And Asus didn't do the extra mile, they did like the extra 100 miles to make sure that the enthusiastic side of the market would just go to them. And I think it kind of worked, at least for me. Now, talking about pricing, this thing is not cheap. It's, you know, at the time of the shooting, it did cost about $630 US. And that sounds like a lot, and it is. But do consider that the monoblock bought separately would cost you around $150 to $200. And having an M.2 solid state drive water block as well would cost you, well, if you could find one for one, anywhere, I guess, between 30 to 50 bucks. I'm quite certain we'd range around $800 to $900. So yes, this is definitely a great value. One last thing, yes, we are going to install this motherboard on my older build. You remember the Obsidian 900Ds that I built about 6 months ago with the Maximus 8 Formula Edition? Well, I am gonna take it all out and put this bad boy instead. So stay tuned for that, because that's gonna look insane. It's gonna look great. It's gonna look extreme. All right.